What if I told you that the next 60 minutes of your life could be decided in the next 60 years? Sit with that for a second, because most people will scroll right past this thought, the same way they scroll past everything else that could actually save them. They'll hear 1 hour and think that's cute, that's a nice quote for a poster. And then they'll close the tab and go back to being exactly who they were yesterday, and the day before that, and every day for the last 5 years. But you're still here. You didn't close this, which tells me something about you already. It tells me some part of you is tired of watching your own potential collect dust on a shelf you never opened. So let me ask you something harder. Not what's your dream. Everybody's got a dream. Dreams are cheap. Dreams cost nothing to have and everything to chase. Let me ask you this instead. What did you do with your first hour today? It's not your best time. Not some fantasy hour you'll get to someday when things calm down. Today, the real one is, did you build something with it? Or did you hand it over for free to a stranger's opinion, a stranger's outrage, a stranger's highlight reel? Because here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud at breakfast tables or in boardrooms or in those shiny seminars that charge you $400 to hear what I'm about to give you for nothing. The gap between the life you're living and the life you keep promising yourself is not made of luck. It's not made of talent. It is not even made of money. It is made of hours, small, forgettable, invisible hours that you either invested or you leaked, drop by drop, like a slow puncture in a tire. Nobody notices until the whole thing goes flat on the highway of your life. And I need you to understand something before we go any further, something almost nobody says plainly enough. You are not behind because the world was cruel to you. You are behind because you kept spending your best hour on things that will not remember your name in 5 years. TikTok will not remember you. The comment section will not remind you. The show you binged until 2 a.m. will not write your eulogy. But the hour, the one single sacred hour you could reclaim starting tomorrow morning. That hour remembers everything. It compounds, it multiplies, it becomes the man or woman standing in the mirror 3 years from now, and it will either make you proud or make you flinch. This is not another video about hustle culture. I'm not here to scream at you about grinding until you collapse, about sacrificing sleep and family and sanity on some altar of productivity. That's not strength. That's slow motion self-destruction, dressed up in a hoodie with a quote on it. No. What I'm handing you today is smaller than that, and exactly because it's smaller, it's more dangerous to your old excuses. It's called the 1 hour rule, and it is quite possibly the simplest, most repeated, most underestimated idea in the entire history of human achievement. 1 hour, chosen on purpose, protected like it's armed and guarded, aimed like a rifle instead of scattered like a buckshot. That is the whole secret. That's it. No hidden chapter 2, no fine print, just 1 hour, done right, done daily, done without apology. And by the time we're finished today, I don't want you to be inspired. Inspiration is a feeling, and feelings fade by lunchtime. I want you to change. I want you to walk away from this video with a decision already loaded in the chamber, ready to fire the moment your alarm goes off tomorrow. Because somewhere out there right now, someone with less talent than you, less money than you, maybe even less time than you, is about to outbuild you. Simply because they understood something you haven't yet fully accepted. Greatness isn't reserved for the gifted. It's rented out, one disciplined hour at a time, to anyone willing to pay the price of showing up when nobody's clapping. So, let's begin exactly where every transformation quietly begins. Before the sun has fully committed to rising, before your phone has had the chance to hijack your attention, before the world gets a single vote in how your day is going to go. Let's talk about taking back the first hour. Here is something almost sacred that most people never stop to notice. The way you open your day is not a small detail, it is the blueprint. It's not a routine, it's a ritual. And rituals shape identity the way water shapes stone. Slowly, quietly, and then all at once. That first hour after your eyes open is not neutral. It is never neutral. Somebody is going to program it. Either you do it on purpose, or the world does it to you by accident. And trust me, the world does not have your best interests circled on its calendar. Watch what happens in most homes at 6 or 7 in the morning. Eyes crack open, and before the feet even hit the floor, the hand is already reaching, already unlocking, already scrolling. Notification here. A headline there is, someone else's vacation photo, someone else's outrage, someone else's successful morning routine video, ironically, while you're busy destroying your own. And in 60 seconds, before your brain is even fully booted up, it has already absorbed 20 different emotional inputs that have absolutely nothing to do with the life you say you want to build. You didn't choose any of them. It chose you. And then you wonder by 10 p.m. why you feel scattered, foggy, reactive, like you were dragged through your own day instead of walking through it on your own 2 feet. Here's the uncomfortable part. If you do not deliberately fill that first hour with something that belongs to you, the world will cheerfully fill it with something that belongs to everyone else. It will make you noise and call it news. It will give you a comparison and call it a connection. It will hand you 1,000 tiny emergencies that were never actually yours to solve. And by the time you look up, the version of you that could have read, written, planned, prayed, moved, built, that version never got a chance to exist that day. She was buried under somebody else's agenda before she even had her coffee. So here's the challenge, and I want you to actually hear this, not just nod along and forget it in 10 minutes. Reclaim that first hour like it's the most valuable real estate you own. Because it is, not because waking up early is trendy, trends fade, discipline doesn't, but because that hour, guarded and used with intention, quietly becomes the architecture of everything that follows. Get up a little earlier than you think you can stand. Not dramatic, not some unrealistic 4 a.m. warrior fantasy you'll abandon by Thursday, just early enough to buy yourself 60 real, undisturbed, undiluted minutes before the world gets its hands on you. And then use it like it matters, because it does. Open a book that's actually building something in you, not just entertaining you, and give it 10 honest pages. Write down 3 things pulling gratitude out of you, even on an ordinary Tuesday, because a mind that starts in appreciation moves differently than a mind that starts in lack. Sketch out what today is actually for. Not a vague hope, an actual short list of what winning today would look like. Picture, in real detail, the version of your life you're working toward until it stops feeling like fantasy and starts feeling like a memory you haven't lived in yet. Move your body, even if it's just enough to wake the blood up. Drink water before you drink anything else. Sit for even 5 of those 60 minutes in complete silence and let your own thoughts finally get a word edgewise. Do the thing the old version of you always claimed there was no time for, because now, finally, there is. Because here is the equation nobody teaches you in school. And it is brutally, beautifully simple. If you can win the first hour, you give yourself a real shot at winning the day. And if you can string together enough days like that, one after another, you eventually discover that you have quietly won your life. Not through some explosive cinematic breakthroughs, through repetition so consistent it becomes identity. Now, I already know the objection sitting in the back of some of your minds. I'm just not a morning person. I hear you. But let me be honest with you the way a real friend would be honest, not the way social media flatters you to keep you scrolling. Your biology doesn't get final veto power over your destiny. Discipline was never designed to feel good in the moment. If it felt good every time, everyone on earth would already be disciplined, and greatness wouldn't be rare. It would be common. The people you admire, the ones whose lives look like they're playing in easy mode, they didn't spring out of bed with trumpets and confetti either. They decided once, and then again, until deciding turned into simply doing, and doing turned into being. That mechanism is available to you too. It is not a genetic gift handed to a lucky few. It's a muscle, and muscles respond to repetition, not to mood. So make yourself a new agreement starting tomorrow, one that has nothing to do with motivation and everything to do with identity. Before the world touches you, you touch your future first. Before you consume a single piece of someone else's content, you create one honest piece of your own progress. Don't just wake up. That's passive. That's something that simply happens to you. Rise up, choose it, because the version of your life you keep dreaming about isn't waiting for you at 11 in the morning after the scrolling, the snoozing, and the slow motion surrender to comfort. It's waiting for 6. It's waiting quietly. It's waiting in the hour almost nobody claims. Take it back. Build something real inside it, brick by unglamorous brick. And when the actual day finally begins, meetings, traffic, emails, other people's demand, you won't be starting from zero like everyone else. You'll already be ahead, mentally sharper, emotionally steadier, spiritually anchored. You won't just be prepared for whatever the day throws at you. You will be, in the truest sense of the word, powerful. Quietly, calmly, undeniably powerful. And that, right there, is the exact moment the transformation begins. Not someday, not next January, not after the right circumstances magically arrive. Tomorrow morning, in the dark, before anyone else is even awake enough to doubt you. Now, reclaiming the hour is only step 1, and if you stop there, you'll lose it again within a week. I promise you that, because I've watched it happen to 1,000 people with good intentions and no defense system. Which brings us to something almost nobody talks about with the seriousness it deserves. You have to guard this hour like it's treasure, because the moment the world realizes you found something valuable, it will try to take it from you. Not violent, quietly, politely even, with a text message, a quick favor, a notification that whispers, just check this one thing. It'll only take a second. And that's exactly how it happens. Not in some dramatic theft, but in a slow, cheerful surrender. One interruption at a time, until the hour you swore was sacred has been picked apart by 100 tiny, meaningless withdrawals and handed over, piece by piece, to build somebody else's life instead of yours. You need to understand deep in your bones that this hour is not casual. It is not leftover. It's not the thing you get to if everything else goes smoothly. It is sacred and it is strategic. And if you don't defend it with the same seriousness you defend your paycheck or your front door, nobody else is going to defend it for you. Time behaves like money in one sense. You can lose it, but it's far more dangerous because money can always be earned again. That hour, once it's gone, is gone forever. There was no overtime shift yesterday. So you build a fence around it. Not out of arrogance, not out of coldness, but out of respect for what you're actually trying to become. You say, plainly, even if only to yourself at first, this is my hour. No calls during it, no emails during it, no scrolling, no rescue of other people's emergencies, no just checking during it, not because you're rude, because you are, finally, serious. And seriousness looks strange to people who've never practiced it. They might roll their eyes, they might tease you, they might test the fence just to see if it's real. Let them test it. The builder doesn't apologize for guarding his tools. A farmer doesn't apologize for guarding his soil before the harvest. And you will not apologize for guarding the one variable that, used correctly, pays you back 100-fold in clarity, in skill, in income, in self-respect. But only if you refuse to trade it away for scraps. Say that to yourself until it sticks. Don't trade gold for crumbs, because that is precisely what's happening every single time you say, let me just reply really quickly, and 45 minutes to evaporate into somebody else's inbox. Every time you say, this won't take long, and it takes your entire morning, your entire momentum, your entire shot at getting ahead that day. People don't lose their future in one catastrophic decision. They lose it in 1,000 quiet ones, each so small it never even registers as a loss, until years later, when they're staring at a life that looks nothing like what they once imagined, wondering where exactly it all slipped away. So build the habit now, tonight, before you even finish watching this. Decide in advance exactly when tomorrow's time will happen. Put it in writing. Treat it the way you treat a meeting with someone you couldn't afford to stand up. Because you can't afford to stand up either, not anymore. Tell the people around you, calmly and clearly, that this time belongs to your growth, and if they don't understand it at first, teach them. Not through frustration, but through consistency, because nothing earns respect faster than someone who quietly keeps a promise to themselves day after day without fanfare. People eventually stop testing the fence once they realize it isn't coming down, and let the rule guide that hour be almost brutally simple. If it doesn't grow you, it doesn't get your hour. Not your inbox, not your food, not somebody else's crisis that was never actually an emergency to begin with. This isn't really about productivity, not at its core. It's about priority. It's a daily declaration that your future matters enough to be defended, the same way you defend anything else you genuinely value. That first hour is your front line. Guard it like it's rare, because it is. It is the quiet, invisible line separating the people who talk about change from the people who actually become it. Separating those who wander through their years from those who lead through them. Protect it today, and I promise you'll be thanking yourself for it tomorrow, and again next year, and again in 5 years, when the compound interest of 1,000 guarded hours finally shows its full, staggering face. But here's where most people, even the disciplined ones, even the early risers, even the ones who've successfully claimed and guarded their hours, quietly go wrong. They forget to aim for it. They wake up early. They protect the time fiercely, and then they fill it with motion instead of meaning. Busy, sweating, grinding, technically doing something, but going absolutely nowhere, like a treadmill, dressed up as a journey. Because here's a truth that stings a little. Action without direction doesn't create progress. It creates exhaustion that merely looks like progress from the outside. You can be tired and still stuck. You can be busy and still be lost. Motion is not the same thing as movement towards something. So before you crack open the book, before you open the notebook, before you hit record or hit play or hit send, ask yourself one question that unlocks nearly everything else. Where exactly am I trying to go? Not in vague terms, not better, not successful, not healthier. Specifics. Because direction is the compass and effort is the engine, and an engine without a compass will absolutely take you somewhere. It just won't be anywhere you actually want it to end up. So, here's how you make it practical. At the very start of your hour, before you dive into the doing, spend 3 honest minutes, just 3, getting brutally clear. What is my actual goal right now, this week, this season? What specific skill am I building today? Not in theory, but literally today. What am I trying to improve, and why does it matter to me? Not to my parents, not to social media, to me. Write the answer down. Don't let it float around loosely in your head, because thoughts that stay unwritten stay vague, and vague thoughts rarely survive in contact with a busy, tempting, distraction-filled day. Clarity written on paper has a strange power. It becomes focus, and focus becomes action that actually leads somewhere. There's an old piece of wisdom worth carrying with you here. Your reasons have to come before your answers. Know why you're doing this before you worry about how, because once the why is locked in, the how has a strange way of revealing itself. Skip this step, rush straight into action without intention, and you will burn through the most precious resource you own: your focus on tasks that feel productive but quietly lead nowhere. You'll confuse movement with meaning. You'll end each day tired, but no closer to the life you're actually trying to build. And that particular kind of exhaustion is the cruelest one there is, because it comes with none of the rewards. Speed is not the goal. Direction is the goal. It doesn't matter how fast you're moving if you're moving the wrong way. You just arrive at the wrong destination faster. So take the time to aim before you fire. A person who walks in real direction may move slower in the short term, but they consistently end up further ahead, because every step is actually pointed somewhere on purpose. So tomorrow, when that hour begins, resist the urge to just start doing it. Start deciding first. Decide who you're actually trying to become. Decide what matters most to you today. Specifically, not generally. Decide which single step taken in the next 60 minutes moves you measurably closer to the life you keep picturing in the quiet moments when nobody's watching, because direction is what transforms an hour from a habit into a mission. And a mission, unlike a habit, is something you don't quit on your worst days. You protect it even harder on your worst days, because that's when it matters most. Now, here's something almost nobody explains properly, and once you understand it, the entire 1 hour rule stops sounding like a nice idea and starts sounding like math you cannot argue with. 1 hour a day, invested consistently, adds up to roughly 365 hours across a single year. Stop and actually picture that. That's not a metaphor. That's nearly 10 full 40-hour work weeks of deliberate, focused, undiluted improvement, stacked entirely on top of your existing job, your existing responsibilities, your existing life. Nobody handed you extra time to do this. You simply refused to leak the time you already had. But here's what separates people who see real transformation from people who stay busy without ever changing. That hour has to be spent creating, not just consuming. Reading about a business idea feels productive. Actually drafting the plan is what moves you. Watching workout videos feels like effort. Actually doing the workout is what changes your body. Golden hour is not research hour. It is building hours. Consumption can inform you, but only creation can transform you. There's another quiet gift hidden inside this rule, and it has to do with what psychologists call decision fatigue. Every choice you make throughout the day, even small ones, spends a little of your limited mental energy. What to wear, what to eat, whether to answer that message now or later. By evening, most people simply don't have enough decision-making energy left to choose the hard, valuable thing over the easy one. But when you pre-commit to your hour, already scheduled, already non-negotiable, you bypass that daily battle entirely. You already decided once, and now you're simply following through. Borrow for a moment a concept from chemistry: activation energy, the initial burst required to start a reaction, after which it sustains itself far more easily. Human habits work the same way. The first attempts at anything new demand enormous willpower because you're fighting inertia itself. But the 1 hour rule, practiced consistently, quietly lowers that activation energy over time until what once required white-knuckle discipline gradually becomes almost automatic. Not because your resolve got weaker, but because repetition rewired effort into identity. And I want to address a fear sitting with some of you right now. I don't have room for one more thing. My schedule is already full. I understand that fear, but here's something counterintuitive. Consistent personal development doesn't shrink up your available time. It creates more of it. As your skills sharpen, tasks take less time. As your clarity improves, you start eliminating the low-value activities quietly draining your days. As your energy rises, your remaining hours simply produce more. And as your confidence grows, you start setting boundaries you never had the nerve to set before. The hour doesn't cost you time. Eventually, it refunds it with interest. A quick, honest note on timing, since some of you are already arguing about whether mornings are mandatory. Early hours tend to work well because willpower is naturally highest before the day wears you down. But consistency matters more than the specific clock hour. I've watched night owls build extraordinary results with a protected evening hour, just as I've watched early risers thrive before sunrise. The real question was never, what's the perfect time? It's, when can you consistently defend this hour, no matter what the day throws at you? There's also something worth understanding about what happens deep inside a focused, protected hour. Something psychologists call a flow state, that rare condition where you become so fully immersed in an activity that time seems to bend, and your output multiplies far beyond what the clock alone would predict. It typically takes around 15 to 20 uninterrupted minutes just to fully enter that state, which means a normal, fractured day pinged every few minutes. Most people never actually arrive there. A genuinely protected hour gives you enough runway to push past the resistance and step into the deep water where real progress quietly happens. This ripples outward too. When you commit to this hour visibly and consistently, you become a living demonstration to everyone around you that this kind of change is actually possible. I've watched entire families shift, entire teams shift, simply because one person decided to take their hour seriously and let the results speak instead of the words. Consider too how this single hour behaves during the hardest seasons of your life. Career upheaval, relationship strain, health scares, financial pressure. In the middle of genuine chaos, one protected hour becomes an anchor, a fixed point that stays the same regardless of what the rest of the world is doing. It's often during the turbulent seasons, not the easy ones, that this small piece of structure matters most. Consistency in the end behaves exactly like compound interest. Quiet, unglamorous, and almost invisible in the short term, until suddenly it isn't. The difference between showing up for this hour for 90 days versus abandoning it after 15 isn't a small numerical gap. It's the entire difference between a life that quietly transforms and a life that stays permanently, frustratingly the same, no matter how many times you promise yourself next Monday for real this time. And underneath all of it sits something deeper than habit, an identity shift. Real change rarely happens through raw willpower alone. It happens when your self-concept quietly updates itself. There's a world of difference between "I want to exercise more" and becoming someone who simply says, without drama, "I am someone who trains daily." The first is a wish, the second is identity, and identities don't need to be convinced every morning. Your daily hour, repeated enough times, stops being something you do and becomes something you are. And once that shift happens, discipline stops feeling discipline. It just feels like being yourself. So here's the question I want to leave sitting with you as we close out this first part of the journey, because I think it cuts through every excuse faster than anything else could. 5 years from now, looking back at exactly who you are today, will you be grateful you finally protected one honest hour a day for the things that actually mattered? Or will you be standing in the wreckage of 1,000 postponed mornings, wondering quietly where all that time actually went? You already know the answer. You knew it before I even finished asking. So choose today the version of this story you'll actually be proud to tell in 5 years. Because tomorrow morning, that first hour is going to show up right on schedule, whether you're ready for it or not. And this time, I need you to be standing there, waiting for it, instead of the other way around. 5 o'clock. The alarm cuts through the dark like a blade, and for exactly 3 seconds, your entire future hangs in the balance. Not metaphorically, literally, because in those 3 seconds before your mind has fully caught up to your body, something ancient in you is already negotiating. The blanket feels like the warmest place on earth, the floor feels like enemy territory, and a voice, calm, reasonable, almost kind, starts making its case. You worked hard yesterday, you're tired. 1 more hour won't hurt, you can make it up tomorrow. That voice has a name, and its name is comfort, and comfort has never once built anything worth remembering. Here is what separates the ones who become something from the ones who spend their whole life talking about becoming something. It isn't talent, and it isn't luck, and it sure as hell isn't how they feel in that 5-second window. It's what they do in it. Feelings are not consulted here. Feelings don't get a vote. You throw the blanket off before your brain finishes building its case against you, and you stand up in the cold and the dark, not because you feel ready, you never feel ready, but because you understand something most people go their entire lives without learning. The body moves first, and the mind, dragging its feet, eventually follows. Wait to feel motivated, and you will wait forever, gray-haired and unstarted, still waiting. Force the motion, and motivation shows up late to a fight it should have started. So you're up, and right here, standing in the dark, is where most people lose the day without even realizing they've already lost it. The hand drifts toward the phone, just to check the time, just to see if anything happened overnight. And that's the trap closing. Because the second you hand your attention to someone else's headline, someone else's drama, someone else's carefully curated highlight reel, your hour is already compromised before it even started. Your focus splinters into 100 directions that have nothing to do with the life you're trying to build. So the phone stays where it is, dead to you. It doesn't exist for the next 60 minutes. You walk to your space, your desk, your gym, your workshop, the corner of a room nobody else has claimed yet. And something happens the moment you cross that threshold. You become someone else, not metaphorically, practically. You become the version of you who doesn't negotiate, who doesn't perform excuses for an invisible audience, who simply works. And for the next hour, that is the only version of you that gets to exist. Now let's talk about what actually happens inside that hour, because I'm not going to sell you a fantasy where discipline feels good the whole way through. It doesn't. Real work, not the busy kind that lets you feel productive while accomplishing nothing, but real, needle-moving work, is uncomfortable by design. It drags you face to face with everything you don't know yet, everything you're not good at yet, every gap between where you are and where you're trying to go. And growth, every single time, lives exactly there, in discomfort, in the stretch, in the moment your hands are shaking on the keyboard because the code keeps breaking, in the moment your legs are burning on rep number 9 when you swore you only had 8 in you, in the moment the sentence you just wrote sounds nothing like the voice in your head and you want to delete the whole page and go back to bed. You don't delete it. You keep going, because doing the thing badly, clumsily, embarrassingly is worth infinitely more than not doing it at all. A bad first draft can be rewritten, a missed rep can be added tomorrow. Nothing can be built from nothing. So, if you're learning to code, you don't spend the hour watching someone else's code on a screen, nodding along, mistaking recognition for ability. You open your own blank file and you break things and you fix them and you break them again, because tutorials give you the comfortable illusion of knowledge while projects give you the real, calloused, earned thing. If you're building a body, you don't wander into the gym improvising. You already know it's chest and triceps today, back and biceps tomorrow, legs the day after, and you walk in already knowing your sets, your reps, your weight, because the thinking happened last night and this morning is only for execution. During the hour, you are not a philosopher. You are a machine carrying out a decision made by a clearer, steadier version of yourself the night before. And here's the part your brain is going to fight you on, viciously, because your brain's entire job, its ancient, hardwired, non-negotiable job, is to keep you safe, comfortable, and exactly where you already are. So the moment you push into new territory, it panics. It doesn't announce itself as a panic, though. It never does. It dresses up as logic. It sounds reasonable. It says things like, maybe this isn't the right time, or maybe you should wait until you're more prepared, or maybe, and this one's the cruelest, maybe you're just not cut out for this. That voice will never introduce itself honestly. It will never say, I am fear and I exist to keep you small. It disguises itself as practicality, as patience, as common sense. And if you listen to it, really listen and obey, you'll be listening to that same voice for the rest of your life, in every version of this moment, forever, until the moment finally stops coming. So here's what the first days actually feel like, without the filter, without the highlight reel. Day 1 is brutal, and it's supposed to be. You show up, you grind through the hour, and it feels like you accomplished nothing, like you shoveled sand against a rising tide. Day 2 is worse because now your body is sore and your mind has a fresh argument ready. This isn't working. On day 3, you want to quit, not dramatically, just quietly, the way most quitting actually happens. A slow loosening of grip rather than a decision announced out loud. Day 4, you almost do. Day 5, your alarm goes off and somehow you sleep straight through it and you wake up furious at yourself, convinced the whole thing is already over. This is exactly where 90% of people stop. Not because the goal was wrong, not because they lacked ability. They stopped because they missed one single day and quietly decided, without ever saying it out loud, that missing the day meant the story was finished. They tell themselves they'll restart next Monday, next month, next year, when things settle down, as if things have ever in the history of human beings settled down on command. You are not going to be 90%, not this time. Day 6, you get back up. No dramatic speech, no paragraph posted online about how this time will be different. You simply show up because somewhere along the way, you finally understood the one rule that changes everything. Missing a day is not a failure. Missing a day is data. A bad session is data. A sloppy rep, a broken line of code, an ugly paragraph, all of it is just information telling you what to adjust, what to strengthen, where the weak spot in the wall is. Quitting is the only actual failure that exists in this entire equation. Everything else, every stumble, every rough morning is simply the raw material of getting better. And somewhere around day 7, day 8, something shifts, quietly, almost imperceptibly at first. Your body starts expecting the alarm instead of fighting it. Your mind stops throwing up quite as many arguments. The task that once felt impossible starts instead merely hard, and hard is a completely different animal than impossible. Hard is survivable. Hard is where every transformation you've ever admired in another person was actually forged in private with no cameras running. So you keep going. Day 9, day 12, day 15. And each morning it gets a fraction easier. Not because the work itself softened, the work is still exactly as demanding as it was on day 1, but because you got stronger around it. Your tolerance for discomfort widens, your focus sharpens. The discipline of muscle, like any muscle worked consistently under real resistance, grows. By day 20, something undeniable starts to surface, small but real. Maybe you've written 50 pages that didn't exist a month ago. Maybe you can finally execute the movement that used to defeat you every single time. Maybe the number on the scale moved or the number in your account did. The specific result matters less than what it represents. Proof. Proof that the method works. Proof that you're capable of more than the story you've been quietly telling yourself for years. Proof that you are probably measurably no longer the same person who set that first alarm 20 mornings ago. And that proof becomes rocket fuel, because now you're not dragging yourself through the hour out of raw discipline alone. You're showing up because you're curious how much further this actually goes. You're showing up because missing the hour has started to feel worse than doing it. By day 30, looking back at a calendar covered in marks representing 30 separate mornings where you kept a promise nobody was forcing you to keep, something settles into you permanently. You are no longer the person who quits. You are the person who finishes. But let me be completely honest with you about what these cost, because I'm not interested in selling you a fantasy where the momentum, once earned, makes everything easy. It doesn't. It gets different. The obstacles evolve instead of disappearing, and you will be asked to make sacrifices that some of the people around you simply will not understand. You're going to have to say no repeatedly to invitations, to plans, to the easy pull of just this once. Friends will invite you out, and you'll decline because the hour hasn't happened yet, and it isn't negotiable. Family might question why you're suddenly so intense about something that, from the outside, looks small. Just an hour. What's the big deal? A partner might not fully understand why you're up at 5 in the morning grinding on something that isn't even paying the bills yet. And here, right here, is where most people actually break. Not from the physical demand of the work itself, but from the social pressure surrounding it. Human beings are wired for belonging, for blending in, for not making the people around them uncomfortable. And the moment you start guarding your hour like your future depends on it, because it does, you will make some people uncomfortable, whether you intend to or not. Not because they wish you harm. Most of them love you, but your new discipline becomes an accidental mirror, reflecting back their own unclaimed potential. And nobody enjoys that reflection. So they'll say things dressed up as concern. You're working too hard, you need to relax, one day off won't kill you, don't you want to actually live a little? Understand what those words really, the friendly tone is underneath. An invitation to stay exactly where you both currently are, so nobody has to feel the discomfort of being left behind. And if you accept that invitation, if you trade your hour for their comfort even once, even twice, you will look up in 5 years and find yourself standing in the exact same spot, telling yourself the exact same someday story, older but no further along. So you learn to be ruthless about this hour, not cruel, ruthless. You guard it the way you'd guard against the only thing standing between you and the life you keep promising yourself, because that is precisely what it is. Let the people who don't understand the grind call you obsessive. Let the people who aren't building anything call you extreme. Let the people who've made peace with average call you unbalanced. 5 years from now, when they're still narrating the same unfinished plans and you are standing somewhere they can't quite believe, they'll ask how you did it, and you'll tell them the same thing being told to you right now. 1 hour, protected like your life depended on it, because it did. Now let's get into the actual mechanics of what separates the people who grind for months with nothing to show for it from the people whose 1 hour compounds into something undeniable, because this is where strategy takes over from raw willpower, and it matters just as much. Most people who fail at this don't fail from lack of effort. They fail from lack of specificity. They sit down with good intentions and zero targeting, and they end up doing work that feels busy without actually moving anything forward. The exercise equivalent of running hard on a treadmill bolted to the floor. So before you ever sit down, you need to know with total clarity exactly what that hour exists to build. Not a vague idea, a named target. If you're learning to build software, the hour isn't for learning to code in the abstract. It's for building one specific thing, a tool, an app, a project with a name and a purpose, because a real project forces you to confront everything a tutorial conveniently lets you skip past. If you're building a business, the hour isn't for working on the business in general. Is for one piece of content published, or 10 specific outreach messages sent, or one feature shipped. Something concrete enough that you can look at the clock when the hour ends and know without question whether you did it or you didn't. And once the plan is set, the night before, when your mind is clear and your resolve hasn't been worn down yet by the day, the hour itself is not for thinking, it's for executing. You walk in already knowing the target, and for 60 minutes you become something closer to a machine than a philosopher, carrying out a decision your calmer, sharper self already made in advance. Here's the discipline within the discipline that almost nobody talks about. You track it every day, not in your head. Memory edits itself, memory flatters you or punishes you depending on your mood. But on paper, in a notebook, in a spreadsheet, somewhere permanent you can return to when your feelings start lying to you. And they will lie to you. On the hard days, feelings will insist you're not improving, that none of this is working, that you should stop before you waste any more time. Data doesn't share that opinion. Data simply shows you, in black and white, that you're sharper today than you were 30 days ago. And if you're better today than yesterday, and better tomorrow than today, the arithmetic eventually becomes undeniable. In a year, you'll barely recognize the person who started this. And in 5, you'll be standing somewhere the old you couldn't have mapped a route to. And there's a ripple effect to all this that goes far beyond whatever specific skill or project the hour was aimed at. Win that first hour. Complete the thing that actually matters before most of the world has even opened its eyes. And something shifts in how you carry the rest of your day. You move differently. You think differently. The guilt that used to trail you around, the low hum of should be doing something, goes quiet because you already did the one thing. Work gets easier to face, not because the workload changed, but because you're not dragging unfinished business behind you into every meeting. Relationships breathe easier too, because you're no longer resentful of the time they cost you. You already gave your first best hour to yourself, so what's left over can genuinely be given to other people instead of grudgingly rationed out. So, when people eventually ask how you're building this many things at once, staying in shape, learning new skills, still somehow present for the people who matter, the answer is never complicated, and it's never going to sound impressive enough to satisfy them. 1 hour, protected daily. No exceptions, no negotiations, no matter what happened yesterday and no matter what's waiting for tomorrow. Everything else in the day becomes a bonus once that hour is already banked. Everything else simply flows. But here's what I need you to sit with before we go any further, because it's the part almost nobody says out loud. Right now, in this exact moment, 2 versions of you are already quietly negotiating for tomorrow morning. One of them has been running the show your entire life. Comfortable, familiar, endlessly reasonable sounding. The other one has barely had a chance to speak yet. Tomorrow at 5, that argument stops being theoretical.